Welcome to our channel. Today, we are going to talk about the Battle for Cabinda, which was fought from November 8 to November 13, 1975. Cabinda, a small but vital province, became the scene of a fierce battle that shaped Angola's future. Rich in oil, Cabinda was crucial for the MPLA's survival. The Front for the Liberation of the Enclave of Cabinda, FLEC, was seeking the independence of this enclave. They were supported by Mobutu, the dictator of Zaire. Due to the importance of Cabinda, the MPLA asked Cuba for help. Led by the commander Ramon Espinosa, 232 Cuban soldiers were tasked with defending this strategic enclave. For weeks, Espinosa and his troops had been training the FAPLA's 1st Infantry Battalion, preparing them for the looming threat. By early November, the defenses were nearly ready, but Espinosa's forces were stretched thin and lacking in resources. The enemy, a combined force of FLEC rebels, Zairean soldiers, and mercenaries, planned to invade from 3 directions. Espinosa predicted the enemy would take the shortest route, crossing at Iema and advancing along the main road toward Cabinda city. At N2, about a third of the way to Cabinda city, Espinosa set up a strong defensive line, supported by anti-tank weapons and mortars. In the days leading up to the invasion, over 500 mines were placed along the border to slow any advancing enemy. Small guerrilla patrols were deployed to detect the enemy's movements. On the morning of the 8th of November, the enemy made their move, with 4 battalions, around 2,000 men, advancing toward Cabinda. The attacking force was a mixture of FLEC rebels, Zairean troops, and mercenaries. Espinosa had anticipated the enemy's route, but he didn't expect them to attack from all directions simultaneously. The first assault came from the east, aiming to capture Subantondo before advancing on Cabinda city itself. Initially, the defense faltered as FAPLA guerrillas were pushed back, and a Cuban platoon was wiped out in the process. Despite the early setbacks, Espinosa quickly sent reinforcements, determined to hold the line at Subantondo. By the next morning, Cuban forces had dug in at Subantondo, laying additional minefields and preparing for the next wave of attacks. A Cuban patrol ambushed the enemy near the villages of Talacuma and Talabeca, forcing them to retreat. Espinosa's forces, now entrenched, withstood repeated attacks throughout the day, inflicting heavy casualties on the invaders. Meanwhile, the main enemy force advanced toward N2, intending to capture Cabinda city. Espinosa had anticipated this move, setting up mortars and artillery to ambush the overconfident invaders marching toward N2. When the FLEC Zairean forces marched into the Natu Valley, they were met with a deadly barrage, shattering their momentum. The attack disintegrated, and the invaders were forced to retreat, leaving over 100 dead behind in the valley. But the battle wasn't over. Espinosa received word that another FLEC force was preparing to land near Labe, south of Cabinda. Espinosa quickly set up a Grad 1P rocket launcher to counter the amphibious assault, with no time to wait for enemy forces to approach. With precision, the first rocket struck a leading launch, causing the others to retreat before they could reach the shore. Back at N2, another enemy assault loomed, but Cuban forces were ready, prepared for a second wave of heavy artillery and machine gun fire. The second assault was repelled just as easily, with the attackers suffering heavy casualties before retreating in disarray. By the 12th of November, Espinosa ordered a counter-offensive, pushing eastward and driving the retreating enemy forces back toward the border. On the 13th of November, the FLEC Zairean forces were pushed back to the border, effectively ending the invasion of Cabinda. The Cubans had preserved the vital oil resources of Cabinda, a lifeline that ensured the MPLA's economic and political power. By retaining control over its precious resources, the MPLA kept the means to wage the war in the long term. Thanks for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel if you want to know more about the Angola War.